All right, so we'll go ahead and call to order the Fairway Estates Special Service Recreation District meeting for Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. All 7 members of the Fairway Estates Board are present with board member Bloom participating electronically. And I will not. And we'll go to Ms. Steck for the Truth in Taxation presentation on Fairway Estates.
Thank you. So we're going to just kind of go over the facts of the Fairway Estates Special Service District. It was established in 1986. There's 51 homes or residential parcels in the district and 5 open space parcels. It's 7.97 acres and it's got a very small lot size, which is 0.14 acre. The open space was kind of exchanged for that density piece. Last year, was it last year? It was last year. Wow, it feels like longer than that. Last year, we met with the residents of the district because we noted as we prepared the budget that the maintenance on the park and the water costs and that kind of thing had increased, and that we were coming very close to or using reserves out of this, and that we would be concerned that would the residents want us to use all of their reserves, or again, take that same philosophy of gradually increasing property tax so that those larger spikes wouldn't occur? Council, you heard from the residents, you met with the residents, and then we sent out a survey. And overwhelmingly, the response was that they wanted option B, which was no increase in 2023. And then a larger increase beginning this next tax year. Our budget was prepared based on that. And so last year, you see, we utilized $3,348 of their reserves. This year in in 2023. In 2024, which was last fiscal year, we used $7,275 of their reserves because we didn't increase the tax rate. And this year's budget with the increased tax rate, we're still cutting into the reserves. And so what we're doing is raising that property tax rate slightly by about 10%, so that when we're using reserves by year 5 or 6 from now, when there are no reserves left, that their property tax rate will make up for their operational costs over time. This shows your 5-year plan. And so this anticipates those inflation or those cost increases so that we remove our reliance on reserves. It'll be 10% this year, 10% the following year, and then 15% for 4 years following. But you can see on that year, fiscal year 2030, that we're only dropping reserves by $1,196. And by the following fiscal year, it should be level, but we'll have to do another 15% that year as well. What does that mean for the taxpayers in the district? That last year they paid, or in 2023, they paid $180.95 in property tax. We're going to be increasing the property tax by 10%, and they'll be paying $217 on the average valued home in that area. Their home values did increase in excess of this, so you are seeing a little bit bigger increase. The property tax rate in 2023 was 0.00778, which was last fiscal year, and the revenue was $10,133. This is interesting, but the law for truth in taxation actually does not require us to take any public action whatsoever because the revenue stream is less than $20,000. If the revenue stream is less than $20,000, the board would have the ability to increase taxes with no public hearing and no truth in taxation process, which is interesting. I had no idea. But we have chosen to go this route for transparency's sake. So we're hopeful that that's appreciated on the public side. The change in the property tax is $1,006 split between all the residents. The increase from the tax year to the certified rate is about $19 per household. Again, the same rules are going to apply. We have to adopt the tax rate in the budget by September 1st. And your next board meeting scheduled for the 27th of August to address both of those topics. So again, board, this is a voluntary public hearing for you. It was not something that is required, but I applaud your efforts to remain transparent with these taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or for staff before we open the public hearing? All right, I'm not seeing any, so we'll go ahead and open the Fairway Estates Special Service Recreation District public hearing for their truth in taxation process. If there's anybody here who'd like to speak to this would be your time. I didn't think there'd be a big rush for this one. All right, I'm seeing nobody in the room. Is there anybody online with a hand raised?
There are two individuals online, none of which have raised their hand.
Perfect. All right, we will go ahead and close the public hearing on this as well. Any board comments on this before we adjourn this meeting? Board member Shelton.
I have a question for Ms. Steck. Could you speak to how we got caught with such a steep increase? Maybe you have already explained it and I've just forgotten, but it seems like we were caught off guard here and charging much too less than what is actually needed to provide the services for this district.
It's kind of an interesting dynamic. So the taxes sustained the services of this district for quite a period of time, and they built up a reserve. In fact, they had 3 years worth of their tax collection, our total collection as reserve. It's 300%. That's pretty significant. But as you know, maintenance catches up with you quickly, and they had to do a large sprinkler repair and replacement project in some of their open spaces that took quite a bit of their reserves. And we recognize that that will likely occur in the next 10 years again. And so we want to make sure that those reserves are there for that future maintenance of that system, and that we're maintaining and not dipping into reserves. So we would like to keep at least 1 year's worth of reserves in there, so that if they have a maintenance item, that can be taken care of without a spike in a property tax and then bringing it down. These kinds of districts are really difficult to manage because of this. It's typically what an HOA would do, right? Not what a city would do, and especially not a city with a property tax rate.
Can I speak to this as well? The landscape contract, it was a multi-year contract. When it came up for renewal, had a big jump at that same time. And so it's kind of a confluence of all of these factors that caused us to feel like, yeah, we're not keeping up and we better have a plan to keep up over the next 10 years.
We did kind of go straight to those residents in that area and the taxpayers very quickly. The year that we noted that, hey, we're starting, because that was their first question to us right out of the gate was, why didn't you come to us before? And we're saying, we're coming to you now. It's the first year. So we did go to them as soon as we saw that their property tax rate was not maintaining their service level.
So it was a lot of things kind of coming together in a perfect storm that hit all at once. So it wasn't something that was just ignored over time.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And it kind of was ignored over time because there was, we had seen that the cost was exceeding the income, but there was so much in reserves. We figured we had a run rate of like 20 or 25 years, so we didn't have to worry about it until the perfect storm hit. And I was like, our 20 years went to like 2 years or 3 years if we didn't do anything. So it, anyway, it was a good example though of thinking that we were always going to be okay, kicking the can down the road into the pothole. And, anyway, board member Bador.
I will say this is a very interesting thing for me because the duplex I live in is literally just 50 feet from where this whole thing starts. And when I moved into that location, and I'd walk my dog, I'd see these little pods of no, these little open spaces. And I was just amazed at what are these even doing here? Then when I started looking to run for council and talk to these people, it did seem like none of them were shocked. They're bummed. And I hate to use a word like that on a city council, but it doesn't sound like I'm very learned, but they were disappointed things were going, but none of them seemed shocked. And I've let them know, I live right here. Come talk to me if you ever get anything. Or I walk my dog a couple times a day through all these areas, and try to pick up any extra stuff I can while I'm there, just to make sure we're keeping that area clean. But this is an area where I think that the people that live there are kind of understanding. They wish it wasn't going up, but they do seem to be okay about it. And I have, like I said, many times said, if it gets anything weird with this area, because I didn't know what this was, that it was its own little oasis in the middle of West Jordan when it comes to, we own an HOA in a way. But until I got on this, so I was just reporting that I still try to talk to these people on a fairly ongoing basis. And so far they seem to understand that this is what it means to live there.
Excellent. Any further discussion?
I'm going to move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn by Board Member Green, seconded by Board Member Lamb. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned.